Hey everyone, it's Will here from Singletrack magazine here at the 2017 Fort William World Cup, and I'm joined by Jeff Steber of Intense.
Hey Will, glad to be here.
Glad to have you here.
And enjoying the weather, of course. The midges, they're out in force today, so.
And they're here obviously with the Intense factory racing team, and some of the guys are on a brand new prototype. So we've got one right here. Let's have a bit of a chat about this. What is this prototype? What are you testing here?
Well, it's our prototype 29-inch downhill bike. We've been working on this for some time, and it is a dedicated 29-inch design. From day one, we kind of decided that's the direction we were going to go with this bike. And so in the architecture of the frame, we did accommodate some different configurations of how the suspension and pieces work, and to accommodate, we had a little more room to play with chainstay lengths and stuff, so you can see that the bottom linkage is concentric around the bottom bracket, which gives us a lot more room for different chainstay options, chainstay lengths, this sort of thing. But we did a lot of testing early season, back-to-back with another prototype we made that was identical, but with 275 wheels, and consecutively, like over test runs with the different racers, where we did multiple runs with the two different bikes. They would consistently, the times averaged faster on the 2.9, and you know, we're racing against the clock here at the Downhill World Cups, and so every second counts. So besides that, chasing the seconds, the guys felt a lot more confident on the bigger wheels. They could push a little harder, that sort of thing. And I think they're not tapping the full potential of the bike yet, because they haven't, you know, probably spent enough time on real downhill courses with it. So it's going to get better as the season goes, and they get more comfortable with the bike and how much farther they can push it. But they do feel like they can go faster more consistently with this bike. So that's kind of the idea we're thinking. We're moving forward with it. We got two different prototypes here. This is Dean Lucas's bike, and then Jack Moir has also the P2 prototype that has little different changes to it. And you know, after this weekend and next weekend, I probably will go back to the shop and maybe craft up a fourth or fifth prototype that has some more changes depending on what we learn at these races.
That's an interesting point you touch on in terms of the prototypes. You're obviously making these in-house, whereas there are a number of other 29er prototypes here at Fort William this weekend, which are sort of bastardized versions of a 27.5 mainframe with some sort of offset linkages and stuff like that. But this is a full-blown design for 29-inch wheels, isn't it?
Yeah, this project we had already decided. We started back in October of 2016 on this particular bike, and one of the design firms that I work with is Cerro Design out of Barcelona, Cesar Rojo, and he's been working really closely from day one on this project with us. And so we've gone, you know, some different directions with the way the bike looks, the configuration, the kinematics, and everything is tailored around the 29-inch wheel. And yeah, there are some teams running kind of convertible where they've modified swing arms, and some have done a really good job with it. But we felt like it needed to be its own project, and we have a really great race bike right now with the M16, and you know, this is a learning process, and so again, it's very prototypey, and it's actually a little risky for the racers, you know, because they want to get the best results they can get, you know, and within the World Cup season. And sometimes when you're in a prototyping project, you know, the bike might not be there yet because you're making changes consistently as the season and trying to improve on it. And they're part of that learning process. But these guys are great, and they're into it, and they want to push things a little further. But at the same time, they're really loving the bike, and we're getting a lot of good feedback. And then, like I said, I will, you know, download that data up here, go back, we'll talk about it, and you know, make some changes probably along the season. And you know, we keep the bikes kind of a raw configuration, because sometimes I can slice and dice and re-weld things, and sometimes you have to start all over, you know, and make a whole new one to get to where you want to go with the next prototype step. And, hopefully by the end of the season, we'll have something that, we're really happy about, and maybe in a year or so, we'll see a production model.
Well, it'll be a fascinating project to follow, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's there is an interesting story when you see something like this being developed. That's one of the great things about World Cup racing. And for a team like Intense Factory Racing, we've always been about, the race program is not only a marketing tool, but it's also a development tool for me to develop, new products, push bikes to their limits, help the guys go faster. And there's a lot of, ideas that maybe they don't go into production, but the ideas trickle down through the other line of the trail bikes and, the other models. And it's kind of like, I look at it kind of like NASA, when all the great technology and things that came out of space programs and things like that. And every other form of racing, automotive and motorcycles, it's the same thing. So we do like to use the race program for product development. It's kind of at the highest level.
Absolutely. Well, we'll look out for Jack Moir and Dean Lucas on the race course this weekend. Now, I'd like to get a quick summary from you about Fort William, because you've been coming here for a reasonable amount of time. What does Fort William, the World Cup, mean to you compared to some of the other World Cups you go to?
Well, Fort Will, I'm trying to remember back, and this is going to really date me, but I think the first year was 2002. I really remember that kind of inaugural race at this venue because Chris Kavarik was racing on the factory team then. And, Chris still is one of our top sponsored athletes. Him and his wife, Claire, are top Intense ambassadors. But that particular event, Chris won the event in really like the worst conditions. I mean, I think today is kind of shaping up to similar results. But that race, he won by 14 seconds spread. And he was on flat pedals, of course. And at that time period, again, we used the race program for developing, and we had the Intense sticky rubber tires, and he was running the Intense shoe with the stealth rubber soles and stuff. So a few things actually probably helped him out there where he was able to stay on the bike and the tires gripped in the really bad conditions. And to this day, I think that might still be one of the biggest spreads that a World Cup was won by. Going way back. And then just the venue itself and the location and the crowds that come out, regardless of what the weather is here, it's one of the most enthusiastic, events from the audience standpoint. When the pro of the elite event is happening, when the riders come into the finish line, the roar of the crowd. I mean, I get goosebumps every time. It's got to be experienced. So hopefully this is just the temporary squall here, but and on race day it's going to be a little, but if nothing else for the crowd's sake, but they'll be here regardless. I guarantee it. Yeah.
Absolutely. The haggis?
Haggis, love it. There's a lot of joking around about haggis, but I'm quite fond of it these days. And every place has its rendition of haggis, its own form. Some are quite good, and some are on the down end of the cycle there, and some are in the middle. But you got to sample them all, see. And so I guess this trip I might be in search of the best haggis, that I can find. So I guess it's haggis on the menu again tonight.
Are there any other recipes you might take home with you from Scotland?
Oh, definitely the sticky toffee pudding. Yeah, that's a definite one. Okay. But I'll be Googling the recipe for that one for sure.
Take that home to California.
Yeah. I have to say I got a bit of a sweet tooth, so dessert's always in my menu, so there you go.
Very good, very good. Well, it sounds like you've had a great time so far. Best of luck to the entire team for the weekend. Jeff Steber from Intense, thank you very much for your time.
Cheers, thank you.